Everyone, this is Nimish. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to review the Kannada movie Diya, directed by K.S. Ashok, and starring Kushi. And this movie is something that became a massive success after its release on Amazon Prime, if I'm not mistaken. Everyone started watching it and giving rave reviews and started recommending it to me, and it's all over the news. I finally checked it out, and I must say this is definitely a movie worth watching. There's so many good things about it that it is very interesting to see, to discuss how this movie was approached by the filmmakers. So let's begin with a couple things. First of all, this is a love story and a sort of romantic element story that is not very common as it used to be in India as a whole. There was a time when romantic movies were very, very common, and especially with the Bollywood romance and all of that glamour, it was very common. But of late, we have been sticking to realistic cinema, and this particular movie is has done a very good job in executing the romantic genre with a realistic approach. It is very simplistic, very straightforward. There is no over the top emotion, no over the top glamour, no over the top drama, no over the top sort of positivity with all the the sort of colors and flowers and dancing and romance. Neither is there over the top drama, emotion, or sadness with the sad music or people overly crying, which we usually see when people are heartbroken in other movies. They start crying, weeping. Grown men start crying. Not just in the Kannada film industry. I'm saying generally, especially Bollywood. Everyone starts crying and weeping and all of that. And then there's sad songs in the background. There's all this slow motion walks and realization, and there's this template that is there, and all of that has been challenged by this filmmaker, this writing team, this team that made Diya, because they have completely kept it in the most natural and simplistic approach ever, which for me is the best part, because this movie kind of tells everyone that you can tell a romantic story, a love story, or an emotional story without having the effects added to it. So for me, that was the biggest surprise of how it pulled it off, and pulled it off with great impact, so to speak. Now, there's going to be no spoilers in this particular review, but let's move on to the I'll get to the whole concept of the movie, but for now, let's move on to the acting. Now, casting was very important because Diya is the central character, and for the audience to be able to connect with the character and all her nuances, all her behavioral sort of characteristics, her approach to life, her thoughts, her philosophies, it had to be a really, really good casting. And it's some, Kushi is the actress, and I haven't seen her before. Maybe this is the first film of all of these actors, but and you can comment if I'm mistaken. But the fact that they took, it's a new team and it's fresh faces adds on to the impact of the movie, because if it was a known established star, whether it's a female star or a male star, there is a certain image in our head, and that would have affected the character, and therefore the actor would have needed to act more to convince us. Whereas over here, the casting is so perfect that right off the bat, in the first couple minutes itself, you know exactly what to expect from Dia as a person, as a character, and how she'll approach life, and that is a win. Similarly, for the other two male characters as well, who are basically supporting the story of Dia's main story, same aspect again. Fresh faces, you don't know what to expect from them, and they deliver as they are supposed to. So this is a great win in terms of casting as well. Now, the story goes through a roller coaster ride of sorts with Dia's sort of life and what she gets in her love life, basically. And of course, without spoilers, we know that this is a very impactful tale. It has some good twists and turns which you don't see coming, and then it gets very interesting because a lot of these situational creations of the plot, the twists and the turns that we watch, are completely unpredictable. And as they are happening, you don't know what will happen next. You don't know what the next actions of the characters involved are, and that lasts till the very, very impactful ending as well, which I don't want to reveal here because a lot of the people might not have watched it and should go and watch it. But in general, this is a movie that keeps you guessing. This is a movie that keeps you wondering what is going to happen next. And all this while taking a very simplistic approach. This also a part that I wanted to talk about was the fact that these movies that probably don't do well in the theaters or cannot break the boundaries of the film industry they are released in definitely should, rely on platforms like Amazon Prime, Netflix, etc., because these platforms are giving them a lease of life. They are giving these movies a sort of platform for the people in the core industry, such as Kannadigas, to watch the movie that they wouldn't otherwise go in the theater for. It's also giving them a platform to watch movies that didn't work in the theater, even if it was a superstars movie that somehow didn't work. It's giving it a second life on the streaming platform, and it's also allowing them to reach out to other audiences from the other areas of India as well as the world. And if the news spreads like this and the social media, promotes movies like this, then anyone from any part of the world can watch a brilliant movie like this and enjoy it. And therefore these movies should therefore strategically try and cater to these audiences as well. And Dia is one great example of how a little movie that you would never otherwise think of watching or go to the theater or watch, or if you didn't have these platforms, you would never even have the access to watch it with perfect subtitles and things like that. This is just great. So this goes to show that a movie well made, no matter how it does at the box office, finally finds its way into the hearts of the people. And I've heard that the Kannada audience has really loved and cherished this movie. It is completely a fresh take on life. It is a fresh take on the characterizations, the actors, the way they are. I really enjoyed it. The supporting actors, the two actors that play the love interest or the love romantic angles in the movie, their acting performances could have been a little better, but again, nothing was off, nothing was over the top, nothing was bad. Everything just blended in together and gave us this beautiful little packaged movie called Dia, which I think is definitely a recommended watch. I'm going with 4 stars for Dia because of its unique match of simplicity as well as emotions coming together and leaving a very big impact without all the necessary dressing that we do in normal movies such as this. It was a huge surprise. So 4 stars from my end. Let me know what you guys think of Dia as well. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and keep watching for more.